Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. A lot happening right now in the secondary market. This week there was an update to the standard and modern ban list. Many players are upgrading Warhammer 40K decks right now. Others still trying to assemble commander decks around cards from Dominaria United. We recently saw some Brothers War previews. All these things and more are impacting card prices. This week the threshold again is $2. We're not going to talk about a card unless it's moving at least $2 up or down. And before we get into the details, just a fast reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, you can pre-order the Brothers War products there. They have all different types of booster boxes. They have cases available. Plus, they have a whole lot of other things on their website. Remember, if your order's over $100 or consists only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. Also, whenever you use the Heroes promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated. So thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. Let's begin with the standard legal spotlight. A couple cards going down in value, one moving up. First card moving down is Teferi, Who Slows the Sunset. This is the one from Innistrad Double Feature. It goes down 232 this week to 1753. Now, this copy is coming down after a recent spike, but the price is still a little inflated due to the lack of copies of this version on sale online right now. We will have to see how the standard meta adjusts now that the Meathug Massacre has been banned, but this card is in a number of decks that don't run Meathug Massacre. Jeskai Midrange, Jeskai Control, and more. Pioneer, though, has been what's pushing this card recently. It's a Nykthos ramp there, and those have been very popular builds. Also, you see this in a number of commander decks, including Atraxa Praetor's Voice, and it is showing up in new builds too, like Joda the Unifier. Liliana of the Veil, the Innistrad copy down $246 this week to $66. The Modern Masters 2017 copy goes down $310 to $57.11. This was reprinted in Dominaria United, making it standard and Pioneer legal, but also adding a lot of new copies to the marketplace. That's why these older ones are moving down right now. I don't think the banning of the Meathug Massacre is going to hurt this card all that much in standard right now. It's just such a good card there. It has been in decks like Mono Black and Esper Midrange, among others, and maybe they won't be quite as good without the Meathug Massacre, but I still think they're going to do well in the meta regardless. In Pioneer, this is in Rakdos Midrange, Abzan, Greasefang, and more. And as you know, this has always been a solid modern card. It's in Jund builds there, sometimes Rakdos Midrange Scam as well. And it's getting additional commander play now too, in Braids Arisen Nightmare, Sheoldred the Apocalypse, and Joda the Unifier builds. And our one card moving up in this section is Can't Stay Away. Now this is the Innistrad Double Feature copy going up $239 this week to $395. Again, this is a harder to find copy, which is why it's jumping so aggressively, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Midnight Hunt copy starts to move up after it. Pioneer Abzan Greasefang builds are typically running 3 copies of this. This also sees a little commander play in various builds. And that takes us to the Pioneer Legal Spotlight, and we have a lot of cards to look at today in this section, some going down, some going up. First one moving down is Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. It goes down $215 to $60. So this is still retracting after some recent increases. In Modern, you do see this in Mono Green Tron, Dice Factory Tron, sometimes Eldrazi Tron. Legacy, it's in Mono Green Cloud Post, and it has been seeing some increased commander play recently around a card from Legends Legacy. That's one of the Dominaria United commander decks. The card is the Peregrine Dynamo. Crucible of Worlds, the original 5th Dawn copy, goes down $237 this week to $30. Cards that were reprinted in Double Masters 2022, at least in some cases, are still having down weeks. Here's one example of that. In Legacy, though, this does see play in mono white stacks, sometimes 8-cast. In Vintage, you see this in Prison and aggro shops. And Dominaria United did bring some support for land strategies, so this is seeing more commander play now in various builds. Plus, it's in new builds around cards from that set, like Soul of Windgrace and the box topper, Hazazan Shaper of Sand. The Chain Veil, the copy from the list is down $253 this week to $26.05. It was in the list from Zendikar Rising through Midnight Hunt. And you might remember we saw this card jump last week. This week it's retracting. When it comes to gameplay, though, it's seeing a lot of Pioneer play now in Nykthos Ramp. It's also getting more commander play, too, in some new builds like Joda the Unifier. It's a good upgrade to the Dominaria United commander deck Painbow. And you see this in fresh builds around the front-facing commander from there, too, Jared Carthalion. Grim Tutor, the starter 1999 copy, is down 311 to 75.74. This was recently reprinted again in another secret layer, this time the Fortnite one. It gets a lot of commander play, and it is now getting more in new builds too, like Sheoldred the Apocalypse. And I am seeing this used as an upgrade to one of the Warhammer 40K commander decks, Necron Dynasties, or other players are adding it to fresh builds around a card from there, Trazyn the Infinite. And our last card moving down in this section, surprise, surprise, the Meathug Massacre. Innistrad Midnight Hunt is down 14.49 to 56.50. The Innistrad double feature copy down $14.61 to $100. That price is still inflated though. Interesting that they're both moving down at the same rate, but because again, there's less copies of that Innistrad double feature for sale right now online, and a good portion of them have very high asking prices. That's what you're seeing happening there. In reality, people aren't paying $100 for that. But anyway, as you know, this is losing value because it was banned in Standard this week. So the question is, where else does it see play? Where is this card going to finally land? Well, in Pioneer, this is in Mono Black Devotion. It also has been seeing increased commander play and builds around some Dominaria United cards recently. Braids Arisen Nightmare, Sheoldred the Apocalypse, Elisil Core Sadistic Pilgrim, Joda the Unifier, and also some have been picking this up to upgrade Legends Legacy, while others are putting in fresh builds around a card from there, the front-facing commander, the Binder of Wills. Ultimately, I do think this will lose more value before it settles into its new price point, but because this card does see so much commander play, I don't think it's going to completely bottom out. First card moving up is Legion Loyalist. Now, this is the copy from the Guilds of Ravnica Boros Guild Kit going up $2 to $10.60. The Gatecrash copy almost made the video, is moving up just short of $2. By the time you see this, maybe it is over $2, but this one did make it exactly. Now, the reason the card's hot is because it's in a new Gruul Aggro Pioneer build that is gaining momentum. The new build is possible because of 3 new cards from Dominaria United: Phoenix Chick, Yavimaya Iconoclast, and Squeedubious Monarch. You also see this card though in a mono red Goblins build in Pioneer, which is also running a couple new cards, Squee again, and Rundvelt Hordemaster. Plus, this also gets some commander play in Krenko Mob Boss and a variety of other decks. Overgrown Tomb from Ravnica City of Guilds. This is up $2.17 this week to $22.86. Okay. So the Shocklands were just reprinted in Unfinity, but they are not very easy to pull. You do get a box topper foil copy in each box that you buy, whether it's a draft booster box or a collector booster box. But other than that, your odds of pulling a copy of one of the 10, whether it be the regular copy or one of the foil or galaxy foil versions, is only 1 in 24 draft booster packs and 1 in 12 collector booster packs. Because of that, and because not a lot of products been open at least yet, these new copies are quite expensive and still trying to find their price points. Maybe in the future we'll look at those in the premium spotlight, but right now they're just too turbulent. I didn't include them this week. They're jumping all over the place. We'll have to kind of see where they settle in. Now back to this card here. This is one of the original Shocklands that's been losing some value because people were anticipating this reprint. Now that they see how expensive these reprints are right now in the secondary market and how difficult the pulls can be, they're starting to go back to these originals. These originals, in some cases, are starting to recover. In fact, you're going to see another one in just a moment. When it comes to gameplay, hey, it's a Shockland. It sees extensive play all over Pioneer, Modern, and Commander. Rakdos Lord of Riots. Now, this is the Ravnica Allegiance Rakdos Guild Kit copy. This copy only comes in foil. It goes up $2.26 this week to $7.79. Demons are hot right now because of one of the Warhammer 40K Commander decks that has a demon sub-theme. That deck is the Ruinous Powers. This is seeing more Commander play now as some players are picking this up to upgrade the deck, and others are putting it in new builds around a couple cards from there. Be'lakor the Dark Master, and to a lesser degree, Abaddon the Despoiler. Another original Shockland, this time we have Breeding Pool from Dissension. It goes up $2.80 this week to $35.98. Moving up for the reasons we just talked about. Again, this sees extensive play in Pioneer, Modern, and Commander. The Great Henge is up $3.98 this week to $63.95. This is a huge Commander card, seeing more play in new builds like Joda the Unifier and Baru Wormspeaker. This is also a good upgrade to the Tyranid Swarm Warhammer 40K Commander deck, and it's in fresh builds around a couple cards from there, the Swarmlord and Magus Lucia Kane. Orvar the All-Form, this is the one from Kaldheim, going up $4.59 this week to $9.27. This was also on the list for Modern Horizons 2 and Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. That copy didn't make our video today, but I wouldn't be surprised if it starts climbing soon too. When it comes to gameplay, this has been a popular commander ever since it came out, but now it is seeing more commander play in the 99 of some new builds. It's in a build around Ivy Gleeful Spell Thief, and to a lesser degree around Sol Kanar the Tainted, both of those cards from Dominaria United, and this is another good upgrade to the Ruinous Powers. On top of that, this is in fresh builds around Balakor the Dark Master from there, and additionally, the Commander's Quarters showed a budget build around Orvar this week, plus Aspiring Spike showcased a modern Breach build that had 2 copies of this in the sideboard. That extra exposure may have brought a little more attention to the card. And our last card in this section is Indomitable Creativity. It goes up 1656 this week to 3594. So it is in Pioneer, Teamer, and Izzet Indomitable Creativity builds. The Teamer one in particular has been performing very well and gaining momentum. But remember, Yorion Sky Nomad was banned in Modern this week. Many are speculating that this will cause a meta shift that will lead to the already popular Modern Indomitable Creativity builds getting more play in the future. Plus, this also gets a little commander play in various decks as well. And that brings us to the Modern Legal Spotlight. Again, we have some cards going down, some going up. Privileged Position. This is the copy from the Guilds of Ravnica Selesnya Guild kit. It goes down 240 this week to 779. This was reprinted in Double Masters 2022, which is why it's soft right now. It is seeing more commander play, however, in some Jodah the Unifier decks. Ulamog the Infinite Gyre, the copy from Modern Masters 2015. It goes down $258 this week to $40.94, also reprinted in Double Masters 2022. It is, however, getting more commander play now in some builds around the Peregrine Dynamo from Legends Legacy, and it is in some builds around a card from the Dominaria United main set, Murray, a Scholar of Antiquity. Ragavan Nimble Pilfer, this is down $294 this week to $76.04, continues to retract after some recent increases. The reason this got hot to begin with is because they are in those modern Izzet and Jeskai Breach builds, and they've been performing well in the format. Now that Yorion is banned, they might even see a larger share of the meta going forward. This is also in a lot of other modern builds, including Murktide Regent and Rakdos Midrange Scam. In Vintage, you see this in 4-color Tempo and Jeskai Control, and it's also getting increased commander play in new builds. Jodah the Unifier, Torwoki the Younger, that one is one of the Dominaria United box toppers, and it is another good upgrade to Legends Legacy, plus used in fresh builds around Dihada from there. Consecrated Sphinx from Iconic Masters is down $296 this week to $26.83. This too was reprinted in Double Masters 2022. It does see commander play in a variety of builds though. Last card moving down today is Blightsteel Colossus from Double Masters. It's down $313 to $71.16. Now, maybe this does not see the same amount of play it used to, but it's still in a variety of different commander decks. First card in this section is Painter's Servant from Shadowmoor. It goes up $203 this week to $78.83. Legacy Painter continues to perform very well in that format. This is also getting some more commander play too. I've seen some adding this to Necron Dynasties, or putting it in fresh builds around Trazyn the Infinite from there. Fanta Mythos from Conflux is up $204 this week to $1226, getting a lot more commander play now and builds around Sheoldred the Apocalypse. Doubling Season from Ravnica City of Guilds, it goes up $249 this week to $92.68. We saw this moving down last week. It does rebound this week, as you can see. Huge commander card. This is in a number of new commander builds too, including Jodah the Unifier. It's a great upgrade to Tyranid Swarm, and I am seeing people use this in fresh builds around a couple cards from there too. The Swarmlord and Magus Lucia Kane. The thing about this card ultimately though is whenever more Magic products come out, there's always cards that play well with this. We've already seen Brothers War cards that could be enhanced by this, and we haven't even seen that many from the set yet. Now let me show you some examples. Not all of these cards are going to match color identity, but these are all cards that would play well with Doubling Season. First off, we have Urza Lord Protector and the Mightstone and Weakstone. These are both found in the regular Brothers War set. They meld to create Urza Planeswalker. That card would work well with Doubling Season. Here's the Mishra counterpart in the main set, Mishra Claimed by Gix and Phyrexian Dragon Engine. Those two cards meld into Mishra Lord to Phyrexia. Again, another card that would play well with Doubling Season. As would the two front-facing commanders from the Brothers War commander decks. First, you might notice they're in classic card frames. That's because all the cards in these two decks are going to be in classic card frames. First, we have Mishra Eminent One from Mishra's Burnished Banner, and then Urza Chief Artificer from Urza's Iron Alliance. Plus, if that's not enough for you, I got some Transformers that will play well with Doubling Season too. And if you haven't heard this news yet, yes, you can pull Transformers cards in the Brothers War packs. not draft packs, but set or collector booster packs, could yield you some Transformers. The top row is the front side of these cards, the bottom row, the back side, they're all, of course, double-sided cards being Transformers. I won't read through them all, but feel free to pause the video if you want to dig deeper into what's going on here. And here's two more that didn't fit on the last page. There are 15 in total, so there's a few that aren't pictured here that don't play directly well with doubling season. Okay, back to regular Magic the Gathering, I guess, with Gemstone Caverns. This is the copy from the list that goes up 272 this week to 4744. This was part of the list for Adventures in the Forgotten Realms through Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. In Modern, you see this in Dredge, Hardened Scales, and more. And this also gets a good amount of Commander play in a variety of builds. And the last card in this section is Grinding Station, up $5 and a cent to $25.40. So this is in the Modern Is It in Jeskai Breach builds I mentioned earlier. It is getting more Commander play now too, though. You see this in some Maria Scholar of Antiquity builds, and it's a good upgrade to a couple Warhammer 40K Commander decks. The first is Necron Dynasties, also a new builds around a couple cards from there, Trazyn the Infinite, and Imhotep the Stormlord. The other deck I'm referring to is Forces of the Imperium, and it's in fresh builds around a card from there too, Belisarius Cawl. That takes us to the Vintage Spotlight. This is where we talk about cards that see play in Legacy, Vintage, and cards that are just popular among collectors for the week. Now, prices in this section might be a little more reminiscent of what you might see on a price tracking website, since some of the cards do not see many sales in any given week. That means we have to lean a little harder on asking prices in those situations. Also, for some of the older, more iconic cards, the price you see on the screen might fall somewhere in between the price of a high-grade raw and high-grade graded copy. However, if the price you see isn't at least close to the middle between those two types of cards, or just in general, if the price you're seeing on the screen is not matching up with what I'm seeing for recent sales, I'll point that out. Show and Tell from Urza Saga goes up $2.69 this week to $42.47. This copy did dry up online, but the one from Conspiracy Take the Crown didn't really move that much. This is in Legacy, Sneak and Show, and Omnitel. It also gets a little Commander play, but the biggest reason it jumped the way it did is because it was recently unbanned in pre-modern. Lion's Eye Diamond, this is up $2.69 this week to $539.99. In Legacy, this is in Doomsday, Ad Nauseam Tendrils, and more. Vintage, you see this in Oops All Spells. When it comes to Commander, I have seen this in some Maria Scholar of Antiquities builds, and it's an expensive upgrade, but I have seen some people adding it to Necron Dynasties, and it's also in some new builds around Trazyn the Infinite. Demonic Tutor, the one from Revised, is up $2.88 this week to $45. This was in the list for Adventures in the Forgotten Realms through Neon Dynasty. In Vintage, you see this in 4-color Tinker, Paradoxical Outcome, and more. Plus, it is a huge Commander card too, getting more play in some new builds. Shieldred the Apocalypse, Joda the Unifier. It's another good upgrade to the Ruinous Powers, and I've seen it in fresh builds around Be'lakor the Dark Master from there too. Mox Opal from Scars of Mirrodin is up $2.91 this week to $74.99. In Legacy, this is in Painter, 8-cast, and more. Vintage, you see this in Paradoxical Outcome. And this is in a lot of Commander decks. It's a good upgrade to Necron Dynasties too. And it's in many new builds around Trazyn the Infinite. Ancient Tomb, this is the one from Tempest. It goes up $3.03 this week to $72. This was in the list from Midnight Hunt through Neon Dynasty. In Legacy, you see this in Mono Red Prison, Painter, and much more. Vintage, it's in Prison Shops, Aggro Shops, and Goblins. And it's a big Commander mana-based card too in a lot of different builds, including some new ones again. Shieldred the Apocalypse, Torwoki the Younger. Not surprisingly, I'm seeing this actively being used as an upgrade to 3 out of the 4 Warhammer 40K Commander decks. The first is Forces of the Imperium. It's in fresh builds around a card from there too, Marneus Kelgar. The second one is Necron Dynasties, and I have seen this in new builds around Trazyn the Infinite as well. And thirdly, the Ruinous Powers. And this card's also in those Be'lakor the Dark Master fresh builds. Underground Sea from Revised goes up $3.10 this week to $839.65. Snuff Out, this is the copy from Dual Decks Garruk vs. Liliana. It goes up $6.44 this week to $17.27. Now, this copy is dry online, and this price is a little inflated due to lack of copies for sale and high asking prices. In Legacy, though, this is in Sultai Death's Shadow, Ninjas, and more. And it is seeing more Commander play now too in Shieldred the Apocalypse, Braids of Risen Nightmare, also another good upgrade to Necron Dynasties and the Ruinous Powers, plus it's a new builds around Trazyn the Infinite from Necron Dynasties and Abaddon the Despoiler from Ruinous Powers. Additionally though, this is getting Pauper play in Dimir Control, Cyclostorm, and Dimir Fairies. Since 4 cards were recently banned in the format, some of these decks, especially Dimir Control, Could see more play going forward. Also, this card was mentioned by Nitpicking Nerds on a YouTube video this week discussing Commander cards most worth buying. Mountains are moving up again apparently. Not any mountain though, just the one you see on the screen. This is from Battle Royale and it has yet again dried up online. It goes up $6.77 in theory to $15.61. But again, this price is inflated due to lack of copies and high asking prices. You do see this happen from time to time. Sometimes someone will go ahead and grab a bunch of copies of a particular basic land all at once. Maybe they want them for a deck or a couple decks, but because the cards disappear quickly, leaving only ones with really expensive asking prices, you see this kind of artificial inflation. Typically, it doesn't last long and the price goes back down once more copies hit the marketplace. And that did happen with this card, but now, again, somebody's gone back and purchased more copies, is jumping again. Typically, when this does happen, it is around a white border basic. Some players do prefer those. They stand out when you fetch. Elvish Archers from Unlimited is next. It goes up $11.86 this week to $94.76. Earthbind, the revised copy is up $5.24 this week to $5.77. The unlimited copy goes up $15.29 to $19.99. So Wizards recently announced the 30th anniversary edition, which is a reprinting of the beta set with special backs so they're not tournament legal. You might have heard something about it. I realize that product's kind of flying under the radar, but hopefully you at least know a little bit about what's happening with it. Anyway, it is missing some cards that they don't feel meet their modern standards, and this is one of those cards. That was the catalyst that got speculators to go after this card, and as you can see, the resulting spike that occurred. Alpha Investments also discussed the card while it was spiking, which might have brought some additional attention to it over the course of the week. I do think, especially for the revised version, I know there's tons of copies out there probably sitting in people's collections and boxes. They're all going to hit the marketplace when people see the spike, and I think there could be a flood of those cards. Unlimited will probably hold some more value, but I do think you'll see some retraction. We don't talk about alpha and beta cards in these videos because they're just so rare you can't really get good prices, but they're climbing too, as you can imagine. And although I do think they too will see a retraction when the hype dies down, they most likely will keep at least some of the increase. Berserk from Unlimited goes up $16.52 this week to $169.55. Pyramids, this is up $39.28 to $244.58. Argivian Archaeologist is up $58.69 this week to $325. Birds of Paradise from Unlimited goes up $76.54 to $325. Mishra's Factory, this is the winter variation from Antiquities. It goes up $77.48 this week to $623.11. Chaos Orb from Unlimited goes up $223.97 to $1,873.96. Is this for real? Well, high-grade raws are approaching about $1,400, and I have not seen any high-grade graded cards sell for a while. When one does, it could pass this price. And the last card in this section is the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale. This goes up $920.20 to $5,199.99. Is this one for real? Well, high-grade raws of these can sell for over $3,500. I have not seen a high-grade graded copy sell for a while, but this price is not out of the question when one does. And that's going to get us to the Commander Spotlight. Now, all the cards in this section are moving, at least in part because of Commander, although there could be other factors too. And in some cases, Commander might not even be the key driver, but I'll point that out as we go through. Reign of Daggers is up $202 to $51. This is an older card yet to be reprinted. It does get a little Commander play. Here's our only card directly from Warhammer 40K that's climbing today. It is Bloodthirster. You see this one in the Ruinous Powers Commander deck. It's going up $215 to $997. As you can imagine, this is in fresh builds around a couple of cards from that deck, Be'lakor the Dark Master and Abaddon the Despoiler. But I have seen some using this as an upgrade to Tyranid Swarm, or putting it in fresh builds around the Red Terror from there. Just generally though, this is a good demon for a number of Commander builds out there. Bone Harvest. Now, this copy from Beatdown is a little dry online this week, which is why it's jumping the way it is, up $238 to $364. But again, some of this is artificial inflation. It is in some Commander builds, though, including Gress the Hunger Tide. Atraxa Praetor's Voice. The copy from Double Masters goes up $304 this week to $35.92. This is a very popular Commander, but it can show up in the 99 of some builds too, including new ones like Joda the Unifier. It's also a good upgrade to the Painbow deck, and I have seen many putting this in fresh builds around Jared Carthalion from there. Piracy, the Portal Second Age copy goes up $309 this week to $36.92. Again, this copy remains a little dry online this week. Doesn't see all that much play though. King's Assassin. This is up 348 to 1848. Another older card yet to be reprinted. It did become hot recently because of a Dominaria United box topper, Ramses Assassin Lord. Timna the Weaver from Commander 2016. This copy only comes in foil. It goes up $5.50 this week to $30.66. Okay, this has always been a popular partner commander, but it too is getting more play now in the 99 around some new cards. I've seen some Joda the Unifier builds run this. It's also a good upgrade to Legends Legacy, and it's a new build from scratch around some cards from there, the Hada Binder of Wills and Shannon Sleeper's Scourge. Additionally, TCG Player ran an article this week showcasing a Timna and Silas Run Secret Adept Commander build. And beyond that, on Alias V's YouTube channel this week, there was a Commander gameplay video. One of the decks was a Timna and Tana the Bloodsower build. Those two sources may have brought a little more attention to this week. The Ur Dragon's back? The Ur Dragon never left. This is the one from Commander 2017. This copy only comes in foil. It goes up $5.83 this week to $94.99. This is the most used Dragon Commander, but it can show up in the 99 of Dragon builds occasionally too. It got hot when Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate and Dominaria United both brought more support to the Dragon tribe. Still jumping this week, as you can see. I have seen this in some Dragon-centric Joda the Unifier Commander builds now too. Deflecting Swat is up $6.49 this week to $59.92. Big Commander card in lots of different decks, including new ones like Torwoki the Younger and Joda the Unifier. For all you green land destruction enthusiasts out there, Thermokarst. Okay, another older card yet to be reprinted. This goes up $7.94 this week to $9.98. This is another card that is moving because of recent changes to the Pauper meta that we discussed earlier. One of the decks that is performing better now is Gropanza, which runs 4 copies of this. Many, though, are also getting this to upgrade the Tyrannid Swarm deck, and I've seen this in fresh Commander builds around a card from there too, Old One-Eye. And our last card today is one we've been seeing for a few weeks now, Spirit of Resistance. It goes up $9.22 this week to $24.95. This is yet another older card yet to be reprinted, and it is a good upgrade to the Painbow Commander deck. I've also seen this in fresh builds around Jared Carthalion and Jensen Carthalion Druid Exile from there. Plus, this occasionally is in another new Commander build, Joda the Unifier. Before we sign out too, I wanted to let you know I don't have a premium spotlight this week. I looked at a number of cards. I was trying to find something to pick out, but nothing really caught my eye. I did look at the foil version of this from Invasion because we did see what that card was doing over the last few weeks. This week, though, there is another huge price spike, but it's all manipulation. It's all just really high asking prices for the few cards that are there. When it comes to true sales, it stayed pretty even with the previous week, so just wanted to point that out. Also, like I said earlier in the video, I was hoping to look at those Infinity Shocklands. I thought maybe we could look at least the regular ones and the foil ones, if not the Galaxy foils. But like I said, they are still extremely turbulent, so prices are still trying to work themselves out there. Maybe next week. We'll see how it goes. Until next time, though, hey, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page, as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.